These are the reasons why nobody lives in these 9 empty states. The United States is the third most populated country in the world, but huge parts of it are practically empty. They look like ghost towns in some places. You'll be lucky to find even a handful of neighbors per square mile and even where to shop for groceries. But have you ever wondered why? Stay tuned to discover that today. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more eye-opening travel content. Delaware. Kicking off with the second smallest state by land area in the United States, Delaware. Delaware is one of the oldest states in the United States and has rich history dating back to the colonial times. According to the United States Census Bureau, the population of Delaware was 989,948 on April 1, 2020, an increase from the 2010 census figure of 897,934. The state has struggled to reach a population of 1 million people since 2020, and Wilmington, which has the most populated city in Delaware, has just 71,034 people. Imagine the numbers. In 10 years, only about 102,000 people have moved into the state. But why are the people not living in the state? Well, Delaware is located between major metropolitan areas like Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Baltimore, and Maryland. Many people who work in the cities choose to live in the suburbs rather than within Delaware itself. Apart from that, many young people leave Delaware to other big cities in search of better job opportunities. Plus, the cost of living in Delaware is about 10% higher than it is in the average in the United States. People living in Delaware are open to risk from storms like hurricanes. Although there hasn't been a storm in some time now, it can come anytime, like the one that destroyed in the Rehoboth Beach Boardwalk in the 1960s. Even the glancing blow that Sandy gave the state in 2012 created problems for many homeowners in the state, Rhode Island. Moving on to the smallest in the United States, Rhode Island. Rhode Island is not actually an island, despite the name. It only has some islands within its borders. The largest and the most populous island located near Rhode Island is Aquidneck Island, which is the home to the cities of Newport, Middletown, and Portsmouth. The state has a population of 1,095,662 people, and it is second most densely populated in the US after New Jersey. What does this mean? Even though the total number of residents is low, they are concentrated in a relatively small area, meaning that most parts of the state are empty. In fact, a report from the Rhode Island Expenditure Council revealed that there are significantly more empty seats in public school classrooms today than there were before the COVID-19 pandemic. This is crazy and can only mean two things. Students are no longer going to school, or families are moving out of the state with their kids. It could be the latter because, depending where you live in the state, you're just about an hour drive to cities like Boston and New York City, where people have access to a bigger job market. Plus, the cost of living and taxes is now similar to big cities like New York. According to PayScale, Rhode Island's cost of living is 13% higher than the national average. Maine. Next on the list is Maine, a state located in the northeastern part of the United States. The country is known for its picturesque coastlines and lighthouses, fresh lobster, and seafood cuisine. However, most parts of the state remained empty, with just 1,395,722 people. Maine's population is concentrated in the southern and coastal regions, where cities like Portland, Bangor, and Williston are located. These cities take about 50% of the state's entire population. Northern Maine is full of dense forests. The region includes parts of the Appalachian Mountains and the North Maine Woods, which cover over 14,000 square kilometers out of 86,156 square kilometers of the state's land. There are areas that are empty due to their harsh climate, particularly during the winter period where the state gets frozen. Apart from the largest city, Portland, the state is rather rural and corporate jobs are non-existent. The main occupation there is agriculture, and the southern part of the state has fertile farmland. South Dakota. Driving through the empty streets in South Dakota, where there's just less of everything: houses, farms, and stores. South Dakota is a landlocked state in the north-central region of the United States. The state is known for Mount Rushmore Monument, its rolling hills, fertile farmland, natural resources, and national parks. Despite the fact that the state is 17th largest by landmass in America, up to half of the state is empty with only 909,825 people. You can drive more than hundreds of miles without seeing houses. The state is big, far from everything, and virtually empty. If you want to go anywhere that is outside of your city, you can spend half of a day driving. The drive from the two most populated cities in the state takes about 5 hours, not to mention the really cold weather. Winter in the South Dakota is downright brutal, coupled with the wind. The state has the fourth harshest winter in the United States, and during this period, South Dakota freezes and unemployment in some cities can hit 90% because nobody wants to work under the harsh weather conditions. Many people living there are into agriculture and mining. Montana. Next on the list is Montana. Despite the beautiful landscape, Montana remains one of the least populated states in America. The state has one of the lowest population densities in the entire United States. Montana is larger than Japan. Yeah, don't be surprised. While Japan has about 125 million people living in it, Montana houses just 1.12 million people despite covering 147,000 square miles, with just 7 people per square mile. Not as if the state is covered with water, Montana is 99% land and 1% water. If you're going on a road trip, driving through Montana can look like it's going to take forever. There are more than 500 miles of interstate highway if you're taking to east to west journey across the state. If you're looking to live in that city boy lifestyle or looking for good paying jobs and city amenities, Montana is in that place. The biggest city, Billing, has about 122,750 residents, which is more than 10% of the entire state population. Meaning, the rest of the state is almost empty. To get to the nearest grocery store, health center, and even to your workplace, you need a 2 to 3 hour drive. Plus, the high cost of living coupled with the harsh winters with heavy snowfall and freezing temperatures is one of the reasons why it is empty. Vermont. Vermont became the 14th state of the United States in 1791 and in 2024. Only 646,216 people are living in the state. Not like it's among the top 3 smallest states in the United States. So why is the state empty? Let's take a look. First, the state is located at the northeastern corner of the United States, making it far from major cities and transportation hubs. So, people who wish to travel to Vermont will have to drive for several hours, which might not be worth the stress to some people because the state is not as developed as the neighboring states, like New York, and the cost of living is high. The cost of living in Vermont is approximately $2,366, which is 1.8 times more expensive than the national average. I mean, compared to the average salary paid here, it is expensive to live here because 60% of the households can afford a mortgage payment, which is the lowest percentage in the country. Apart from that, surviving the harsh winters of Vermont is not for the faint-hearted long cold winters, with very low temperatures are one of the reasons people are not living in the state. North Dakota. During the oil boom in the 2000s, the population of North Dakota went up, salaries ballooned, and fancy new buildings appeared. However, when oil prices fell below $50 a barrel, Williston became a ghost town. Many of the people who came to work in the oil industry have packed their bags and gone home. Despite being home to Theodore Roosevelt's National Park, the Missouri River, and national wildlife, it has the darkest, coldest winters in the United States. In fact, it is rated as the state of the worst winter in America, in addition to the winds that come with it, which block all visibility on roads and shut down the only 2 major highways. The state sees temperatures in the -20s and a few days in the -30s, which is pretty normal over there. It's one of the reasons less than 780,000 residents live in the state. Aside from that, North Dakota is a vast place with lots of fields and empty space with a small population of 11.1 people clinging to each square mile. Towns and cities are spread out and to get basic amenities or get to the nearest grocery store, hospital, especially in rural areas, you have to drive some distance. I'm talking about hundreds of miles of driving, which is tiring. So, many people are avoiding that by not moving into the state, despite its low cost of living and low taxes. Wyoming. Did you know that Wyoming is bigger than the United Kingdom in terms of land size? It's the 10th biggest state in the United States, but only about 576,851 people are living in it. That's just 5.9 people per square mile. Living there is difficult because there's no big cities and there are very few jobs and services. Not like the state is not beautiful, it has Yellowstone and Grand Teton National Parks, national gas and coal. The truth is, people are not trying to move there because it is completely isolated from the big states and the cities in the United States. It borders other empty states on this list like Montana to the north, South Dakota, and Nebraska to the east, and Idaho to the west. Winter in Wyoming is crazy. It's one of the top reasons people leave the state, coupled with the windy situation. The wind makes living in Wyoming tough. What makes it worse is the fact that you have to drive long distances to get groceries and healthcare on 13 miles per hour wind and icy roads, which is very dangerous. In fact, data from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Wyoming has the highest winter driving fatality rate in the country. So, to survive Wyoming's winter, you have to be prepared by stockpiling food supplies. Would you like to spend your best years here? Maybe not. Alaska. Finally, and number 1 is the biggest state in the United States. Alaska. Alaska is so big that you can divide it into 2. Other part would still be by far the biggest state of the country. However, less than 1 million people are able to live there. Most of Alaska is covered with water and forest, including the largest national forest in the United States, the Tongass National Forest, which covers over 17 million acres. So, most of it is inaccessible and isolated. Towns in Alaska are 100 of miles apart, and many of the largest communities are inaccessible by car, which can make it difficult to access basic services and amenities, like healthcare and grocery stores, especially in the rural areas. Aside from that, the cost of living in Alaska is relatively high, mainly because of the high cost of housing and limited access to transportation of goods and foods. And the weather? Very bad with cold weather and snow coupled with long, dark winters. That is why Alaska is relatively empty. Those are the reasons why nobody lives in these 9 empty states: harsh winters, vast land spaces, high cost of living, and unemployment. If you're looking to move to these states, you should spend at least a day in the state so you know what you're signing up for. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more mind-bending travel content.